schedule. So welcome to the.
James, I want to just point out we only have 4 members here at this point in time.
Yeah.
And Vixen's on the other meeting, so I just sent her the link. So hopefully she'll.
Yeah, I was going to thank you for that. So as Vixen gets signed in, that'll bring us to 5, which is a little low. Do we know where some of the other people? Anyone know where some of the other people are? I'm going to take that as a no. But sounds like I'll need to, but we'll need to rustle up some people. But in any case, for us to go ahead and get started, a little bit about last week, and I hope before I get rolling, you had an email this morning that had eventually had this PowerPoint, the agenda that we're using, and then a corrected briefing sheet. And then, since we just love sending you more stuff, there was an updated briefing sheet sent to you just before this meeting started, like 15 minutes before, that has a few more items in it. And then the draft charter that we'll hopefully get a chance to talk about a little later in the meeting. So I see we've got some other people joining as well. So great. But quick overview from last time around. We did, we updated you in our first implementation. That's pretty exciting. And we worked on the wording of 2 requests. I'm going to have some updates on that in a little bit. Excuse me. And Tiffany joined us where she described the process at what happens after we make our recommendations. So we're going to need to start clarifying that process so we can bring some more of that before we bring you these requests. But you guys made suggestions on the form, the input form that we're going to be putting out. So we'll have a look at that updated version and let's make sure that's finalized, or maybe we did. But anyway, that was helpful input. And then the big thing too was showing you the list that we had and asking you to vote. So I appreciate everyone voting. So we have a whole bunch to discuss. And before I start talking about these, the submitted improvement ideas, does anyone, George, do you have any other comments, or anyone else have any comments from the last meeting?
Yes, would like to put your name and where you're from and favorite food in the chat, and then also if you are still interested in getting paid by being on the committee, please get with James, Melissa, or the other person. I keep forgetting the name, I'm sorry. This is our committee, so please voice your opinion. We need to hear from you. James and his crew needs to also hear from you. So don't hold back on what you feel about suggestions and stuff. Need to hear from you. Also, looking for the co-chair to help me out on the other side of things. Please let James and them know that you're interested. We have what until the October 4th for that, James?
Yeah, our next, thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, our next prep meeting is on the 4th. And so there, thank you, Angel, that's the time. So please join us. I think trying to remember, it's been a little bit, but Mandy, did you say you were going to be able to join us? I'm trying to.
Did you say me? Did you say Mandy? Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm so sorry. I just hopped on. Be joining you when?
For our prep meeting next week. But
Yeah, I plan on it. Yep.
okay, excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
I haven't forgotten everything. Great. All right, now let's talk about some of these decisions because we're already a little behind here. But
James, can I jump in for one more second?
please.
One more thing from the last meeting is that we had some feedback on the suggestion form. So the form that we're using for you all to submit improvement suggestions. And we have made all of those updates to the form as you all suggested, except for the automatic email. That's something that I am unable to implement within that form, but you can check the box at the bottom that says to send an email to you that it has been received. That's all I have.
Thank you, Melissa. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Anyway, much appreciated. Yeah, check out that form. And let's talk about some of these things because our prep group, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. So option 9, okay, like I mentioned, the password change has been implemented, so we're good. That's your work is now showing up for everyone. This option 9, which is providing a link. So when people sign in or reset their password, they can just click a link and go right back to the login screen. That's set to go in just a couple weeks. And the notice stating that passwords expire in 90 days, that has been finalized, and that's going into the build later in October. So we ended up with a font that matches the text on the screen that exists there. And it just says passwords expire every 90 days. So this one is the one I wanted to jump ahead to because at our prep meeting, we realized that there was more work to be done to get the wording. And so you'll see, what you see here is pretty different wording than what we agreed to, because when I showed this to the immigration lawyers at the Oregon Law Center, they sort of, trying to find the right word, they were not happy. And the reason was they don't want to encourage people to fill out that form and send it in. If a person were to fill out that form on their own, they don't qualify, that could get them deported. So we played around with the wording and try to keep it simple, but we just wanted to make sure that that it's very clear that it's only an immigration judge, and even added the last sentence that anyone who's applying for this withholding or approval should talk to an immigration attorney. So I hate to throw stuff around, but this one, given all the wording things, this got delayed then. So instead of going in October, we're going to put it in the November list. Any comments or questions about this wording? And I'm talking a lot, so you're not really having a chance to read it.
I'd like to let the people on this committee know that I made the suggestion to James and his crew to maybe bring in somebody that is an immigrant to see what their take is on if this would be offensive to them, to get an insider and see what they thought. I'd like to let the people on this committee, like to ask you guys, what do you think about the idea? Should we not have someone that's an immigrant come in and look at this and see if it's intimidating to them, or?
I mean, I guess that's assuming that that person would what it means. What that sentence, means, what the repercussions of filling that application out would be for them also. We could send it out to, we work with colleagues who work with people who even might be undocumented, send the sentence and ask them what they think, like offline. So then they don't have to figure out how to be here at, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Instead, just send it out. Say, what does a sentence feel any kind of way? That's something that in our office, we could ask a coworker to do. Care providers. So I'm not sure, that they are necessarily applying for benefits anywhere, but it's at least an audience.
Hey, this is Samantha. It's showing Jelly Bean, but it is Samantha talking, not the guinea pig. Just to back up what you were just saying, I think it might be good to see if we can take this offline and get some feedback on it. If you have people who could speak to it, that would who could review it and give us a, yeah, this seems fine, or this is really still given a lot of ick, that would be great. Just because if we have to wait the 2 weeks to our next meeting, we do potentially we may miss putting it in November as well, because we have to have these approved and translated 30 days before they go in. So yeah, I think that's a really great option for us to take it offline and get some folks to look at it and then come back via email.
Yeah, April, I agree that I like that suggestion. I think what this also speaks to is how we need, going back to George's suggestion of having experts come in talking about requests that you're interested in. That's something that we need to develop into our process a little better, and so that when we're discussing things that may be out of the purview of this group, we'll have a little more expertise in the room. Because here this time we talked and we discussed, and I know there was a lot of conversation about, well, I'm not as familiar with immigration issues, and so then when it was sent out to immigration lawyers, they had a very different viewpoint on it. So, yeah, please share it with your circles, especially those who work in immigration, and get their impression. But we do need to get this moving soon, even delaying it the month as it is.
If Angel or whoever could email out exactly like what we want to ask, so that way it's like a quick forward. Like, this is the current sentence. How does this make you feel? If it makes you feel any kind of way, this is our thought for having an info box. That way there's at least consistency through what everybody's sending out. We're getting the answers to the same exact question.
Reasonable request. Yeah, we can do that.
Could we also get a due date on responses that's within the next 7 days, just so we don't slip to the next release?
Would October 4th be it?
Yep.
Mandy, Mariah, Sydney, what do you all think about this?
I agree with April. That sounds good.
Dixon?
I like the idea of having more input if we can quickly do it.
I absolutely agree.
Well, there you go, James.
Thank you. All right. Well, we'll get that out to you soon after the meeting, I hope. I can help, Angel, I can help draft it. But you should see in the briefing sheet all the different requests and descriptions of it, but here's the voting results. Melissa, do you want to talk about this at all, or I can keep rolling?
Either way, I can pull up the Excel spreadsheet that lays it all out. Is that easier? We can walk through that.
Hey
Uh,
guys, I didn't get to give an opinion on this last one. I was listening completely multitasking, phone ring at the same time. I just feel like that last one, for some reason, to me, it's just an uncomfortable change. Like it feels like a controversial issue topic. It feels like way bigger than what, I don't know if it's ultimately going to be our jobs to need to make these decisions and changes for this verbiage and wording. But I don't feel like between the crew that we have right now, we have anybody that's kind of, can really speak to it in a sense, I guess. Maybe that's just me, but as far as that change alone, it's probably one that I just wouldn't really want to have personally, just me too. It's just not my sector. Like I'm not educated on it. I haven't done the research. I don't have the know-how on that piece. So when it comes to putting an opinion in there and stuff, it doesn't feel valid or just to do so. So that's one change that I'd probably want to opt out of, or just listen to when we did have like more facts, more opinions, more this or that to work with on such a massive, it's culturally specific in a sense, it feels like, and I understand culture, if anything, cultural sensitivity. So to me, it's just kind of like, that's one that I'm just not like, I'm like, is it something that eventually we have to make a call on at some point? Or are we that say so? Or is it one of those things that we talked about before where, hey, if it's just a piece that we just don't want to, a change that we don't want to implement or work on, can we decide to probably postpone or do away with and let the higher powers that be make that kind of call? Or where does that kind of go?
Well, yeah, going back to that refugee question, I think if you have access to people who do it, but it will be also our job as staff to try to bring some of these experts to you. So just as a little bit of background, I did have a lot of email exchanges with the Oregon Law Center who works on this, but we didn't talk to other immigration groups, I suppose. And so that's where we partially rely on you for whatever networks you might have. But it's also, I don't know, you raise a good point, but I guess that's part of the prioritization. I think as you think about what to prioritize, some of these are, because we're going to get into it with a couple of these. Some of these require a lot of wording. Now, they're not culturally specific necessarily, or in these cases, but there's a lot of wording that has to be wordsmith, and that's going to take more time. So I think that's part of consideration of how you prioritize them. It's like, yes, we really want to do this, but we want to do it right. So it's going to take a few months. So I think that's going to be part of our decision making.
I think I look forward then to those kind of expertise and like those opinions and everything coming through before I feel like I could really contribute anything to the discussion. So.
All right. So I guess that means we get to dive into the voting results.
Ready? All right. So this time we had 10 people that submitted votes on the items that we had. On here, request number 1, which was, so it's this one in the yellow with the 6 votes. The request was, is there or could there be a pop-up letting one user know that adding a child to their case would remove the child from another case? And what we learned on this is it actually goes against privacy laws and identifying that that child is on another case. So that's one that we're not going to be able to do, even though it got a good majority of the votes. So we're going to have to take that one off the list. Any questions or thoughts on that?
Yes, Melissa, this is George. Could you please make it a little bit bigger so our committee can see that, please?
Yeah, Angel, can you make it bigger on your side? If you just do control and scroll, Angel, it should, like, hold down your control key and scroll. It should make it bigger.
Nope.
Or not. That's just making yours.
I'm not seeing how to make it bigger. That just makes that bigger, but not.
I don't know if we can make it bigger, but you all should have the same copy.
Yeah, I don't think I can make this part bigger.
Okay.
Okay.
So April, I see your question in the chat. Is there a reason we can't do that suggestion there? Are you talking about the request number 1, the suggestion to have someone or have that pop up letting someone know that that the child they're adding to their case would be removed from a different case? Okay.
It looks
We'll
like
come
April
back.
is frozen. Yeah.
Yeah, Cindy just put the April and her having bad internet issues. So we'll come back around to that one. Our 2 items that had the highest votes are request number 6 and request number 15. So request number 6 was clarifying miscellaneous documents, uploading screen to say that submittals, identification, proof of income, proof of legal immigration status for everyone in your household who wants benefits and are not US citizens are optional. And then request number 15 was after completing a renewal or mid-certification to have the banner stating that you have a pending renewal or mid-certification go away so that the Oregonian knows that that has been completed and received. Of these 2, request 6 and request 15, request 6 is going to take additional time and is probably something we maybe wouldn't be able to fully get ready to implement by the November or by the October deadline for November. So we would probably have to look at either December or January for an implementation date on that one. Any questions on either of those? Or James, anything else to add?
Just that, you can follow along in your briefing sheet that Angel sent out about 1:45.
Can I jump in just a second? On request 6, I do want to say we should get started working on that rewrite of the language. And I think we've talked in past meetings about kind of making it an offline process with a shared document. People can go in and be editing and giving suggestions in. Just because it's a big screen, and I think that we want to get started on it because it is going to take us a little time to kind of crunch through what we really want this, what information we want this screen to say. So I don't know if we want to do it completely offline or if in future meetings we want to devote 10 or 20 minutes to working through it a little bit, how we want to operationalize working on that text. But I do want to say that, yes, totally going to do request 6. We just need to get there on the language.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Yeah, meaning it's going to take some more time doesn't mean that we don't start it. It means that we can start it. It just may not be implemented in our next segment or next cycle.
Do you have until you said January of next year, you said? For number 6?
Yeah, kind of depending on how our meetings line up and how much we can get done between meetings. It would probably be, we're thinking December or January. Is that right, James or Sam?
Yeah, and it also depends on how our meeting schedule goes too, but yeah.
So are you wanting the committee to vote on this, do it offline, or to discuss it.
Well, we're in the middle of going through just giving a quick overview of the request, and then you guys can discuss which ones you think should be prioritized for this November session coming up, or November build rather.
Melissa, I would like to request that, is there any way you could bring up 6:15 to the ones that you're requesting, so we can get an idea of what, because I think we might have a new person that came on and don't know what that number 6 is.
Yeah,
Option 6 is.
give me 1 second here and I'll pull up a document that shows all the. And then you all have the briefing sheet that has all of the information in there, but I'm going to try to share just a 1-pager here real fast. If I can hit the right buttons on my computer, I apologize.
Because I think we've got 1 or 2 new people.
Thank you.
By the way, you do excellent work on the graph.
Oh, thank you. I tried to color it for you guys. All right, can you see that?
Yeah, may need to bring up the options a little bit bigger
Yeah.
for the new people.
So I'm going to move the graph over and make just the wording bigger, so because that's where that's kind of where we're going to focus. So option 1 goes against the privacy laws. So we're unable to implement that due to those privacy laws, and we can't disclose somebody being on another person's case for safety and security reasons. I'm going to go ahead and hide that one so we don't have it open anymore. Number 6 and number 15 were our next top priorities. Number 6 will take additional time to complete, but as we had talked about, that doesn't mean we don't start it now if that's one of the top prioritizations. It just means that we won't be able to implement or submit for implementation in November. And April, I see your hand up. Go right ahead.
Go ahead, I don't know, but this is April. In thinking about the one that we couldn't do because of privacy laws, that makes total sense. Is it possible to shift slightly that request to say that, let's say I had a kiddo, I put them on my case, I tried to put that child on my case. If I, who already has that child on my case, got a notification that said, hey, on their case, you should probably talk to somebody about this. In that exact language.
So you cut out a little bit, but what I think I heard you say was, instead of the person that's trying to add the child to the case, the notification going to the person that's already, or the child's already connected to the case.
Exactly, yeah. And it doesn't have to say who did it, just says like, hey, April, someone tried to add your child, Johnny Appleseed, to their case. You should call ODHS about that.
Go ahead, Sam.
Sorry, it didn't want to unmute for me. So yes, but this is technically all in a way already our process. So you guys know me, I might nerd out a little bit hard. Please stop me if I'm going too hard. Tell me to back up and explain things. But I'm just gonna go. So let's say I have ongoing benefits for, oh shoot, I just got called out to my other meeting. Can we put a pin on this and I will come back and explain this a little bit better? Sorry, April. I know you've been having internet problems.
Yes.
No worries. I'll try not to get kicked out again.
I'll be right back, guys.
Thanks, Sam. We'll come back to that one. I could probably answer it, but not as good as Sam, so we'll let her take care of it. Okay, are we good with moving on to the top two votes? Again, back over to the top two votes.
Melissa, I have a question. With option 6 and option 15,
Yep.
with option 6 being talked about and decided on until January of next year, is that going to delay people from having to resign or having to renew services like SNAP and medical and state services?
No. It would only just delay the update or the improvement added to the system. So it would only just delay having this this wording to be optional as opposed to required, or the way it's worded now, just changing the wording on whatever that question is. Let me pull up the briefing sheet because we have
Yeah, we have screenshots of both of these first two.
and they're all a little fuzzy, which I apologize, but oops, sorry.
Yeah, I want to say one side comment while Melissa's bringing the briefing sheet up is, by the way, we used to call them options, now we're calling requests. We've gone to a different sort of database list. So instead of changing the numbers around every meeting or every 2 meetings, these numbers are staying put. And so as new requests come in using the form or whatever else we get, they will just be added on. So request 15 is going to stay 15 whether it gets selected or not, and we'll just keep building up the numbers, and someday maybe we'll get the triple digits, who knows.
So on option 6 or request 6, this is what the wording looks like currently, I believe.
You're not,
So
we
we
don't
just-
see the briefing sheet, by the way.
Oh, that's because I shared my screen a different way. Let me fix that. I don't usually share that way. Share my whole screen, so that way when I move things around, you
Yeah.
can see it. Okay, can you see the briefing sheet now? Perfect. So I believe this is what the language does now. So it would just be changing this language.
Okay.
So it doesn't have anything to do with your current or the current applications or renewals. That would all still continue as normal in the background. Okay. The next one. The next one we had that had the type for the top was request 15, which is after completing a renewal or mid-certification, that's the banner that pops up that says you have a pending renewal mid-certification review. Please complete the renewal prior to message. That message would go away, or that banner would go away. So that way the Oregonian knows that their renewal or recertification has been completed. And that one, I believe, is not as complicated, but I don't have Sam here to verify that. So maybe I can
Well, that was our discussion earlier, and
okay.
we have the screenshot too for this one. if you
Yep.
keep rolling.
Yep. So this is what the banner is that currently pops up. So this banner here, once the recertification or renewal is submitted, would just go away. So it doesn't stay on there for this full period of time.
I guess I'm kind of lost.
Okay. So the request is, so when you have a renewal or a recertification that is due, or mid-certification that is due, this banner pops up in your one online online portal.
Mm.
And right now, when you complete your renewal or your mid-certification, that banner stays here, I believe, until after this date, the date that's shown on there.
You're
Um,
correct. That's
Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
We get calls about it every single day because the customer will go in, they'll do the renewal, the recertification, and then they get worried because it doesn't go away. It just sits there. So then they try to do it again, and then they call in and they're worried, and it causes so much unnecessary stress. So I'm excited. Sorry.
This would make Mandy's team very excited. So this banner here would go away once that renewal or mid-certification is submitted.
Okay.
So
what-
I was gonna say another way of saying it is, so here's this banner, tells them to do this thing. They do this thing and the banner is still there.
Telling them to continue doing it.
So what does the other committee members think? Mariah, Sydney,
Sydney's giving us a thumbs up.
Vixen,
April says looks great. Vixen gave a thumbs up.
April, did you respond to it too?
April did, yep.
Okay, please make sure that Ruth gets a vote in this too, please.
Yes.
And the one before this.
Okay.
So since we voted on this, it's already passed, right?
Yep, or we could go through the rest of them and decide if, how many do we have for November again, James?
Well, we have up to three slots.
Okay,
So is it
So-
16 and number 2, or is it just 6 on Holden? We're going to 15 and
so six we can start. We just won't be able to implement it in November. So we'll want to pick the 3 that we can implement in November. 15 is the potential for being able to implement in November, I believe. We'll have to ask Sam.
Mhm.
And then we can look at requests. James, do you have the list of the ones that Sam said we're going to take so long for? I guess I can look.
I'm sorry, the list for what?
Never mind, I have it. You wrote it down over here for me. So request number 2. Let's put this over here. Request number 2, which is the next one that had the highest votes, is another one that it's not saying that we can't start now, just that it's going to take longer to do. So this would be another one that we could maybe implement in December or January, but not probably for November. And this one is to a place, actually this one probably would be more, do you think February or March, James? We internally have some processes we have to set up before we ask for more feedback and not have a way to respond to that feedback. So request number 2 is asking for a place to provide feedback, either positive or negative, on the application experience. So we'll have some internal things that we need to do to create a process for ensuring that we gather that feedback and can respond to that feedback. And then we also will have to have a redesign in the one system on what that looks like. So there's a few internal things that we would have to do in order for this one to be successful. But we could
Yeah.
definitely still move it forward.
Yeah, because obviously you don't want to have, oh, here's a channel to get feedback and it just goes into the proverbial circular filing cabinet, the wastebasket. And so we are in the process of developing an advisory council that will respond to questions and complaints and whatnot. And so, but that's not going to be stood up for a few months. Yeah.
We'd like
Right
to-
now, when we get comments, complaints, it's sort of haphazard. And so we try to respond, but we need to get a little more organized. George, I'm sorry, I talked over you.
Would like to suggest, to make it easy for the committee members as well as myself. And to your staff, maybe we should put like number 6, being worked on and implemented on January of next year. Option 2, or is it option 15? Being implemented like a certain date. So then when we get these, we'll know when they're going in. Kind of give us an idea. Are you guys okay with this?
Yeah.
Melissa, April?
I'm fine with that. I'm just writing it down for you here. This one, let's see, we said. Okay. And then this one, so request number 14 had the next highest voting. And that one was suggesting that any screens with an end date, including TPL, which stands for, I know this, Mandy. help me out.
Third-party liability.
Thank you. I was like, I know it has to do with another insurance. I can't remember what that.
I was like, I hope I still got this. It's been a while.
So including the third-party liability, that would so when somebody saves the information in there, that it updates. So let me just go down to the thing. So like this one, this person added a new employer with additional wage or updated their wages, and then they get this notification that it was updated. They added a new employer with additional wages, and it was an update that this was new. So just having this action show over here that the update was successful or the information was added once those updates are made.
I might be wrong, but I think it might be that there's nowhere to add an end date, like to the previous income. I might be misinterpreting this, and I apologize, but let me see. End dates, yeah, screens with end dates. Oh, okay. Income be updated somehow, let the client know the info is saved correctly. Yeah, because on this current screen, am I not seeing it? Do you see anywhere where we would put an end date?
No, I don't see anywhere
Yeah.
an end date on there.
I think that's one of the biggest complaints that we get is that they go in to update their income, but there's nowhere to put an end date of their other income
Other
that's
previous
listed.
income.
Yeah, so then the system, they think, or the system, I don't even know if the system thinks this is a good question for Sam, but I know I would be concerned if I go in and add a new income, right? And I can't end my previous income. I would be concerned that the system's calculating both incomes because I don't see anywhere where I can add an end date to my old income, assuming, right, that it's an old income.
Which is a great segue to my next point here, which Sam was saying that this update would kind of go hand in hand or work really nicely with the option we have, which is option number 4, or request number 4 for the pencil and the red X, because I believe, Andy, don't they just click the red X to remove income?
I think so, but I always thought we never wanted to delete it. We always wanted to end it. But
Okay.
to be completely honest, I'm so out of the eligibility loop, and my team are a little bit more familiar with these screens when it comes to this portion. Does anyone else know?
We don't get the red X option anymore.
Okay.
It like kind of vanished, but even the edit is a little glitchy. Like
Gotcha.
you can edit it, but it doesn't give you an option to end it. And then, yeah, you never know if it's ended.
Okay, thank you for confirming that. That was my fear. That's what I had heard. So that's what I was wondering. So even if you click the X, you don't know if it actually removes it or if it ended the income or if it's calculating it. So that makes sense. Okay.
All right, let's pause on this one until Sam gets back, if she's able to join us again, because she'll probably be able to walk us through this a little bit better. All
What-
right.
What about Mariah and Sydney? What do you guys think?
This is for medical.
It's for everything.
Sorry, I'm just a OHP assister. I just hit that. I don't see the X ever. I just see that little pencil tab when I do mine. And then once you input the income information to start or stop it, then you just have to make sure you're hitting that update at the bottom for it to lock in and then move on to the next page. Just in my case, when I do it.
Thank you.
Sydney?
Yeah, that all sounds good on my end.
Okay.
All right, well, let's come back around to this so Sam can explain it, kind of how it is supposed to function a little bit better, and then can kind of go through the screenshot with us.
Okay, so have we already picked 3 for November yet?
Nope, we've only picked one,
Okay,
which this one could be an option for November as well.
Well, and part of the charm of it is, this is something that Sam told us offline, is that this 114, maybe could be combined with 4 into request 4 into just one work item. But it does make sense to keep them together in any case.
Mhm.
okay. It's 2:55, so did you want to pick the 3 after we come back from a break, or?
Yeah, we can do that. Let's go ahead.
Yeah,
and
let's
take
do a break.
Yeah, we'll take a 5-minute break, and it will leave us at what, 3:01?
3:02 on my clock.
Okay,
All right. Yeah. Thank you, George.
okay. Now, here's the fun part. So what is the one that we've already voted on? Or the one that,
The one that is quite popular is the getting rid of that banner, request 15. Seems like, yeah, interest in 6 and 2, but those have to be later. We'll have to work on the wording and get some information to you. I don't know where we ended up with on requests 14 and the last one, request 4.
We ended up waiting for Sam to come back to tell us if those are ones that we could implement in November, or if they would take longer.
okay, so that's 6 and 14, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what about number 4?
Oh, I'm sorry, that was 4 and 14.
Yeah.
Number 6 would be December or January. Sorry, I'm writing this in another document as I talk to. Number 2 would probably be January or February. Number 14 and number 4 could potentially be done in November. I just want to check with Sam to make sure that's accurate. And if
So I
that
know-
is the case, yeah.
I know
sorry.
Sam is a big fan of number 13, so
Yeah.
I'd sort of like to have her talk about it, but we could talk about request 3. What, should I share the
I got it.
briefing?
Just
You
have
got
to
it?
start. Yep.
Okay.
All right. So looking at number 3, that's what we said.
Uh,
Mr.
13,
13.
or I'm sorry, 3. Yeah, you're right, 3.
Let me scroll up and then. Oh, whoops. Did anybody catch my typo in there? Request number 3 is update one account creation to look and function like the Oregon One mobile regarding authorized representative. I don't think I can speak to this one.
3? Oh,
Because that's the one that Sam loves.
we have it
Oh,
screwed
did I
up
not?
here.
I
It's-
messed the whole thing up, James.
Oh, shoot. I didn't catch that when I went through
That's
it.
okay. Hold on, I'll fix it. Give me a second here.
Okay. Never mind all the scrolling, just a moment. No, you want to copy the one from 3. Isn't it?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you gotta use that Control C instead of right clicking.
I could have, but I didn't. Hold on a second.
Keep going.
Yeah, there it is.
There you go.
All right, so pop-up asking if applicants would like to go paperless if they have not already opted to do so. So that's if somebody hasn't already checked to be paperless, then this pop-up would come up.
So are we voting on this on number 3?
Sure.
Okay, is all in favor on putting option 3 up? Paperless or not?
Sure, put it up for the environment.
Okay, Mariah? April? Okay, Cindy said yeah. Andy says good. Mariah? Okay,
Mariah said yes right at the beginning.
sorry, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
April?
Yeah, I think everyone was on board. We had virtual thumbs ups and
And Vixen?
Yeah, it looks, sounds fine to me.
Okay. So that makes it how many now, James?
So we can add this one as a potential November.
Yep.
Did anybody have a preference though? Like if we could do the other ones instead, would you rather do those instead of this one?
Personally, I would like to do this and get it out of the way. That way we can just get on to the next one.
there you go.
The more that we delay, the more piles that we'd have to contend with.
Anybody opposed to that?
Okay, so that's one. And we had
All
another.
right, the next one is add average for expenses to income and tax credit screens. So either remove or clarify what does start date mean for expenses and income section, since expenses start date could have started several years ago and or change each month. I don't have a screenshot of what this one looks like. And I
Yeah,
also don't know time frame on how long this one would take.
So does everybody on the committee want to move this to November?
well, I'm curious for a little discussion. I wonder if some of our sisters have run into this.
So what do you want to do?
Mariah, you came off mute.
Yeah, it says either remove or clarify what does start date mean for expenses in income section. So how this change will improve the experience. It says add average. So you're saying put the word in average to just let people know it's not that, say like about, around, about when. Is, I mean, what's the suggestion change? How does that look? And I know Melissa, you said you don't have that one. So
I
it's,
don't have that one.
it says either remove or clarify what does start date mean? I mean, obviously you need a start date, but around about like maybe a 4, you know, in what month and what year it started versus the exact day that it started is a lot less pressure for all of us. Because when I work with patients who come in, I tell them that, like, look, I don't need you to hit the nail on the head if it was last year at this time, just middle, beginning, end, about what date, was it about the middle of the month, as close as we can possibly get. Like, that's what we're gonna go with it. So, I mean, for me, I'm not, you know, the biggest stickler on the exact date, but maybe if it was, oh, May of 22, was it July of 23? Was it says 0723 instead of 0724 of 23? Like maybe we either take out the actual day and let it be for the average to make it easier for about, you know, or for the way that it's factored, I guess, you know.
So it sounds like you
They count that income in the month in which it's, am I missing it?
I
I mean,
agree with Mariah, because when you're putting that income in,
Yeah.
if you're putting it in for this date, then that to me, like the estimate, because that's what time period we're in.
Mhm.
I work with a lot of self-employed or seasonal,
Mhm.
and so you're gonna have to average. I mean, farmers aren't gonna know, or ranchers aren't gonna know what their vet bills are for this month or something, so they have to estimate. So an average is good, but when you say start date, if you put like today's date, it may not look the same next month either, or
Mhm.
next year.
Yeah.
So I think removing the start date would be great.
Either remove or clarify, and then it says add average. Is that the same request? Am I looking at it wrong? Where it says request 7 and then there's 2 separate? It's like, are we talking about the start date? Or are we talking about listing the word average? What do we? I don't know if I just missed this one somehow or what, but.
No, you didn't miss that. That's exactly how it was written.
Okay, I'm just wondering, I'm like, what is it asking us to think about? What does it look like?
Mhm.
Like, are they adding the word average in there? Are they trying to take out the word start date? I don't know what we're.
So James, are you good if we come back to this one when we have Sam here that can walk through this better?
I would be very good with it. I'm hoping Sam's coming back because apparently this other meeting has gone off the rails, but let's talk about 11 though. I think that one is a little
Okay.
straightforward.
Allow users to archive old messages. So messages that are in the message center, that they have a way to archive those or move them somewhere else, so they're not just a long list of notifications and messages that are located in the message center.
I'll be okay with that. What about you, Vixen, Sydney, Mariah, Mandy, April?
So can I really understand what you're meaning by archive? Are you meaning like they go away, or will they be like in another folder once they've read them? Like a new.
Yeah, my understanding would be in another folder once they've read them.
Okay.
We didn't want to have an option to even delete. Sam's back so she can interrupt me and I can quit channeling my inner Samantha here.
Yeah.
No, please, because I've been in for like 3 seconds.
So I think it's an option to have those archived into a different space, but not deleted.
I'm totally fine with that. I don't want them to go away, because often we're having to go back and retrieve those to figure out what their status is. And because we can't see income screens, so sometimes I have to go back and look at those to even see what the income was reported or what was on there. So yeah, please don't let them go away.
Okay.
Yeah, I completely rely on messaging myself too, like because so many times they didn't read their letters, this, that. And so I actually have to go to their most recent letter and everything like that. So I even know what's going on with them. A majority of the time is how I catch it. So like I depend on looking at the messaging center as an assister.
Mandy, April, Mariah, what do you think?
I mean, can they be deleted or archived on the user's end file? And I can archive it, but if Mariah is my sister, she can still see it. And then Mariah has what she needs as an assistant. As far
That's
back
a-
as too,
That's
but
a
it's
great
not
question.
user.
That's a great question, and I don't have an answer. This one came up, and we really haven't fully explored it with the vendor yet. But we can take that as like a, hey, this is a functionality we would like as part of it.
Could we add this one as something to explore and maybe bring it back around in one of the upcoming meetings to say, yes, we can do this. This is what it could look like. Is it something we want to move forward, and maybe like a timeline of how long it would take?
April was starting to say something. She got cut off. April, go ahead.
April.
Nope, I was all done.
Okay. So are we looking at this going into November, or what are we doing with this?
Well, I hear that we don't know what this would look like at this point in time. So if it's something that this group would like to see, then we can take it back to the vendor. We can explore what it could look like. We could bring that information back here along with how long it would take to make the update.
So what are you wanting to do, guys?
Since we have,
Postponing it.
I didn't understand either of you.
Sorry, I was just asking that we don't have all the information to work with right now. So we're just postponing and putting this one on the back burner is what we're doing until we actually have this stuff to come. Okay.
Does that work?
Okay.
so
Yeah.
since we have Sam here, can we go back to the one that I think everybody wanted to do regarding the income where we were edit or the red X?
Yeah,
That's the one. I think
definitely
we
want
all
to talk about
wanted,
that.
yeah, I think we all wanted this one in, but I think we had some questions for Sam, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Sam.
This one and number 4.
Yep. The question was, does this also include a place to end current income? And then I'm hearing that the red X is not an option for people anymore.
Oh, okay. So does this include a place for people where people can end income? So yes, but not the way you're thinking. So if an individual comes in, they're reporting a change, they need to change their income, right? Right now, what they will say is, yes, I need to report a change on my earned income. They will get in, they'll see this earned income grid. It will show pencil, pencil, pencil. It will not show any of these orange boxes. It will not show the red X, okay? They can click on the pencil, and when they click on the pencil, the very first thing they'll see, because this is an existing record, the very first thing they'll see is, has this income ended? Yes, no. And through that, they can change their income. Now, we did have another recommendation. It was like way down the list. It was voted higher in past months and very low in our last one, that kind of explains how the pencils and the X's work, that I really feel like we should look at this again. It was request 4, and I think it only got 1 vote. So I think this is something maybe we want to keep in mind, that we don't have an explanation of how the pencils or the X's work at this point on these screens, but we do have the ability to prioritize that at any point. And we do have some sample text we can look at to draw from to help people understand what the pencils and the X's are. So that was my yes and no answer to the question of, does this give them the ability to end? If you scroll back up again, sorry, Angel, for making you jump all over, but I appreciate you. So how does this function when an income is ended? It'll show as updated here. It should show as updated here. And then again on the income summary screen. So when they, they'll click update to update that end date in, they'll click next. And that will take them to the income summary screen that shows a summary of all of the income that we know about. We can show the update there again. However, the next time they come through the application, because that record is end dated, they will no longer see it. So yes, this time it can show the update. The red X is a fun situation. Red X only appears if you have just added that record and have not yet submitted. So if you can see here it says new. That's here to indicate that I just added this Wells Fargo income about my commissions. Until I submit this change or submit this application, whatever this is, I can click that red X to delete this if I realize, oh, you know what? I'm not actually going to be getting that commission. I misunderstood my contract or something like that. Whatever the situation may be. Oh, I've added this 6 times. I don't need it 6 times, whatever it is. You can click the red X. Once you have submitted the application or the change or whatever, the next time you come through, you cannot use the red X to delete the record. It is an existing record. You can only update and end. So the red X is still there in design. It's just, you can only use it when you very first added a record, if that makes sense. And again, more reasons why we should, at some point in the future, strongly look into adding that explanatory text to how the pencil and red X's work to these screens where these grids exist, because I think a lot of people don't understand how they work, and the system made a lot of assumptions about it, honestly. Did I cover every question we had on this?
Sam, would it be possible, or is it too much to ask, to combine those into one change so that they both could be done at the same time and not take away from one of the 3 options?
I have a suspicion, because we're going to be asking to add these in a lot of places, that they will say, no, that's too big.
Okay.
That's just my guess.
Okay.
I can always ask. The worst they can say is no, right? But I have a suspicion, because we're going to be adding it in a lot of places, that they're going to say, no, that's too big. You're insane. So, and just as a reminder, work items are limited to 50 hours. That's a combined coding and testing 50 hours. So we do not get a whole lot out of that 50 hours.
Sam, I do want to make note also that people can accrue income and then they get laid off or fired and then they recur income again. That also may be creating a problem with this X and trying to put in a new income also.
Right, exactly. I think we really need to, make sure that knowing that we're kind of stuck with this structure, which is very dated and not the best, and something that, looking forward, we're looking for opportunities to get out of this structure that we have on the web and move more towards the structure that we implemented with the mobile app. We do, I think, in order to address what you were just saying, George, we really do need to look at how we can add explanatory text to help people understand the red X situation and the pencil situation as well.
Okay. James, are you satisfied with what you want in for November yet?
Well, we've got 15 is pretty definite. Request 3, the pop up, the ask about paperless. Got everyone say yes, and so it sounds like it's dubious to combine 14 and 4, but my understanding that end date thing is a pretty high priority for at least some people. So I'd be interested if the group would approve that, if we're able to get it on the November list. Is that something that's reasonable to ask, Samantha?
We can certainly try. We can certainly try.
I'm just gonna say that Mandy's IMing me, like, is it on the list? Is it on the list? But
Okay, so what's the options? Which option numbers are we looking?
so request 15 that, getting rid of that banner that sticks around longer than it should. The pop-up to ask about the paperless, request 3, and then request 15 with these end dates. The one we're looking at now.
Okay, Sydney, Mariah, Mandy, Vixen. Is it all of a yes for November?
It's a yes for me.
Yes, for me.
Yes.
And who are we missing? Mariah?
Yep.
George, what do you think?
I think it'd be good. It's a go. What about Sydney? Sydney hasn't said anything.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, okay. Thumbs up on that. Let's go with that.
It's like we got 3 different ways people vote here, so it's always a little tricky to track.
Yep. So it's a go for November.
All right. Well, so much for talking about the charter. I hope you all take a look at it. We're going to build some time in some of the subsequent meetings, but since we're at the end here, George, I'm just going to jump in and ask our group here about future scheduling, because as you know, we're the second and fourth Wednesdays in a month. And I know George is wondering about the upcoming meeting, and we're going to be sending out a doodle or some sort of poll to ask about the next meeting, because I think George and who's it, Ruth have a conflict in 2 weeks. But in addition to that, I have a little poll right now that I'm going to run to get your opinion about our second November meeting and second December meeting. And I hope you all can see this poll right now. It's very simple, but do we keep it? Do we move it? Or we simply expand the other one? Or if you don't have a preference, you can say that as well.
And what our thinking was, guys, was that because of it being close to Christmas and Thanksgiving, if we were to leave the ones near the holidays out, that would leave us with longer meetings on the other 2 dates because of people not showing up and being close to holidays. So this is the reason why this is voting for these 2 dates. Any discussion for this?
So I think I've got all 6 votes.
I'm still,
Oh, there it is, 7 votes. Well, should be a little bit of a spread here. See if I can, yes. So I believe I am sharing the poll results.
Yeah, we can see it.
Great.
so what's our verdict?
Well, looking just at November, we've got expanding, the plurality is expanding the meeting to 2 hours, and then several people with no preference. We had one person who wanted to move it to November 15th. I don't know who that one person is. Is that something you want to stick by? Because it sounds like the group that's present anyway is interested in the 2-hour meeting. Any comments?
Well, the one with the 13th and the one with the 8th looks like that's going to be our best bets.
Yeah, it does look like expanding both the November and the December meetings 2 hours, and which means we're missing the other meetings. So we're going to be definitely losing some time. But it's the nature of our dominant cultural holidays here. And I know staff here would, there's going to be a lot of staff gone around what would have been our meetings too. So we're going to plan on then the 2 hour meetings. And, you know, for the first of the month, for the first meeting of the month then. Any other comments on this?
Dixon, Mandy,
It sounds good to me.
Same here. Good.
Yeah, I would appreciate extending them to 2 hours as well.
Mariah? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
April? Sydney? Vixen? Okay, Sydney says good. Vixen,
All right.
so we'll make it 2 hours then.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Who knows? We'll stick with it. So we're definitely at time. Thank you for the discussion. We are constant. This is still a new committee. Mariah, I loved your point about, you know, bringing in experts that really, you know, you made early in the meeting. I think we really have to think about how to present some of these things that are, you know, beyond our group's experience a bit. And so we have to think about the questions we're asking a little bit more. So anyway, always learn things from you guys. Really appreciate your time. And we'll get the materials out to you in the next, well, shortly.
James,
Yes.
remind people that about the October 11th.
Well, we have our October 4th planning meeting, and then the next meeting, we do want to, we'll send out a doodle poll with potentially moving it to see people's availability.
For the.
So, yeah.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is possibly, since we were left out of time for the charter. Let's we'll probably talk about that for October's meeting.
Yeah.
We'd like to remind everybody to please let the staff know, including Angel, as far as whether you're opting in or opting out on the snippet for this committee. They need to know right away, and another co-chair with me.
Yep.
Please let them know. I'd be happy to have a partner. Other than that, I'm ready to close the meeting if everybody's okay with that. Okay, see you all at the next meeting.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.